In BT, whenever people talk about risk assessment, you'll hear the terms risk and hazard. And although it's useful for you to know what they mean, the most important thing is to understand what is likely to cause you or others an injury when you're undertaking a task, both at work and at home. A hazard is anything that could potentially cause you harm, like the traffic here. But a hazard only becomes a risk if the hazard is likely to cause harm. So it's only a risk if you step into the road. So risk assessment is all about identifying the hazards, judging what risks are presented by those hazards, and identifying ways of eliminating or reducing those risks. To put this into plain English, stop, think, check for anything that's unusual or unfamiliar, and then take the appropriate action. BT has a clearly defined process to risk assessment which is designed to keep you safe. This process has three basic components. These are the generic risk assessment, on-site risk assessment, and the local risk assessment. Every task has a set of generic risks, things that are particular to that job. It could be climbing a ladder, digging, either for work or in the garden. It may be working in a confined space or vibration hazards caused by certain tools, even something as simple as sitting at a desk. BT has taken time to identify these generic risks associated with specific tasks performed by its staff and documented them. These form part of the training everyone receives to do a certain task or job. But each task is unique to its location, and this is where the on-site risk assessment comes in. The on-site risk assessment is simply a check for anything that is unusual in a particular situation. It's a simple visual inspection that takes into account what you'll be doing and where. If the individual spots something they aren't familiar with or aren't comfortable with, it may be something outside their level of experience. This is where the local risk assessment comes into play. A local risk assessment is a written outline of what's different, what's likely to cause a problem, and how these items can be dealt with to minimise the likelihood of somebody being hurt or work being disrupted. It's carried out by a line manager and is a structured, documented assessment of a particular task at a specific location at a defined time. The local risk assessment will document all of the hazards, the risks, and outline all of the specific control measures that can be implemented. But what do we mean when we talk about control measures? Well, these are simply ways of reducing risks, and we can use a simple structure to prioritise the way these are applied. Eliminate, reduce, isolate, control, PPE, and discipline, or ERIC PD for short. The first question to ask is, can we eliminate the part of the task that is risky? If it must be done, then can it be done in a different way? Or should we be thinking about getting someone else to do this, someone who is more competent than ourselves? Next, reduce or control. Can I change the way I do the job to make the risks smaller? In some situations, it is possible to do the job but increase the level of personal protective equipment employed. Finally, in order to change anything, there needs to be a suitable level of information, instruction, training and supervision to ensure that the amended working processes are implemented and minimise the chances of anything going wrong. The important thing is to remember, if you are unsure, you must stop and refer to a manager. By working smarter, we all benefit, because the consequences can be a lot harder to fix.